Welcome everybody to Don't Fear the FASFA, Common Myths, Debunking Common Myths about Financial Aid. My name is Angelica Velez. I'm an Assistant Director of Financial Aid here at Stockton University, and I'm happy to present to you these myths that I shall be debunking. If you're familiar with the show Mythbusters that used to be on the Sci-Fi Network, or Discovery rather, that was one of my favorite shows. And so we're not doing anything sciencey, but what we will do is debunk some myths. So let's get started. Myth number one, the FASFA becomes available as of January 1st. While that used to be the case, it is no longer true. The 1920 FASFA became available as of October 1st, 2018. Okay, every year it will become available on October 1st per the new cycle of what we call early FASFA. And so what that does is it allows students to apply 3 months earlier than they normally would have. And prospective students have more chance to and more time to compare and contrast award letters from different schools that they may be getting. And current students have a longer opportunity to fill out the FASFA, meeting their institutional deadline to be considered for campus-based aid. So you should submit your FASFA as early as possible, anytime right after October 1st. Myth number two, I should be using my 2018 tax information to complete the 2019-20 FASFA. That is also not true. While it used to be that you would use the current tax year, we're in tax season right now, whereas you used to be able to use the current tax year for your next FASFA application. That is no longer true. You can use your 2017 tax information, which for all intents and purposes should be completed by now, unless you have an extension filed with the IRS or circumstances, mitigating an extension. It doesn't matter if your parents haven't filed your 2018 taxes, because as I mentioned, 2017 taxes is what the application will be asking you for. Myth number three, my parents make too much money, so I won't qualify for any financial aid. The reality is there's no income threshold in determining financial aid eligibility. Everyone's eligible for financial aid. However, there are two different kinds of financial aid. You have your free money with grants, and then that's money that you don't have to pay back. And then you have self-help, money that is in the form of loans that you will have to pay back, and also money that you can earn through a federal work-study program where you work on campus. Every student will be eligible for some type of aid, whether it's grants or whether it's loans. You should still complete the FASFA because you won't be excluded from those federal sources. My family didn't qualify for aid last year, so we shouldn't bother filling out the FASFA again. Well, as I mentioned just now, you will be eligible for some aid. Whether it's the type of aid that you want or not is irrelevant. You will at least be eligible for loans from the federal government. However, there are also times when the circumstances that you list on your FASFA, the income that you make, the marital status that your parents have, or what have you, could change long after that you fill the FASFA. So, just because you only qualified for loans last year doesn't mean that you'll necessarily just qualify for loans every year that you fill out the FASFA. Small changes can make an impact, such as another sibling going to college at the same time as you, or God forbid, unemployment. One of your parents becomes unemployed or disabled, and that's something that we call a special circumstance. You can talk to your financial aid office. We're located right upstairs in the campus center, room 201. And if at any time something changes with your FAFSA, you can let us know and we can walk you through the steps of applying for a special circumstance request. And so, the takeaway from this is that everyone should fill out the FAFSA, regardless of what you think you will or will not qualify for. Myth number 5. I support myself so I don't have to include my parents' information on the FAFSA. Well, although that may be the case that you're self-sufficient, you may be working, the truth is that according to the federal government, you're still considered a dependent student, dependent of your parents until the age of 24, or if you get married, have children of your own that you provide more than 50% of the support for, or if you are an active duty military. And so if those conditions don't apply, there are other questions on the FAFSA regarding independency status. If you qualify for those circumstances, you answer yes, and you would be considered independent. However, if you can only answer no to all of those questions, then you would be considered dependent for the FAFSA purposes and financial aid purposes, in which case you would need to include your parents' tax income information. Only students with good grades get financial aid. Most federal aid programs do not require any sort of proof of good grades. Okay, these are not merit-based programs, they are need-based programs, and what that means is that when you fill out the FAFSA and you include all your income information, your household size, asset information, the federal government will calculate, an eligibility index that will tell you what programs you qualify for, what financial aid programs you qualify for. Keep in mind, for continuing students, if you want to continue to receive financial aid, you do have to be making what is called satisfactory academic progress. And at every institution that may look different, here you have to maintain a 2.0 GPA or above. At another school, it might be a different GPA. You also have to be making pace towards graduation. And so as long as you are completing the classes that you attempt, you should be on your way to receiving a bachelor's degree within 4 years or an associate's degree within 2 years. However, if you take too long, if you withdraw so many times, if you fail classes and tend to repeat them, then that could jeopardize any future financial aid eligibility. On our website, on Stockton's financial aid website, you can click on the calculators that we provide so that you can keep track of your progress and know that you are making satisfactory academic progress. The FAFSA is only for grant money. And as I mentioned already, FAFSA, when you're applying for federal aid, you're applying for both grants, the free money, and loans, money in which you have to pay back, or what we refer to as self-help. Also work study, and in some cases, FAFSA is required to be filed at certain institutions to be considered for scholarships, such as at Stockton. Financial aid never has to be paid back. And again, going back to grants, that is true. However, financial aid does need to be paid back if they are in the form of loans. When you complete the FAFSA, and in turn, when you accept the loans that are offered to you by a school, you must complete what is known as a master promissory note. And that, in turn, is essentially your contract with the government stating you will be responsible for repaying those loans back when the time comes. However, you do not have to repay that money back until 6 months after you graduate, or 6 months after you withdraw completely from school, or if you fall below less than half-time enrollment status, meaning less than 6 credits enrolled. And in those cases, you would have to start repaying your loans after 6 months. So remember to borrow conservatively. You can keep track of your financial aid history of both grants and loans that you've received on the National Student Loan Data System. It's a government website that keeps track of all the financial aid that you have received at any school that you attend. Myth number 9, there's only one FAFSA deadline. In reality, there are several. There's state deadlines, federal deadlines, institutional deadlines. You should be cognizant and aware, research through your financial aid website or through the federal government website or even the state agency's website as to what these deadlines are. Our institutional deadline for filing your 1920 FAFSA is actually tomorrow, March 1st. And it's March 1st of every year. So you've had 6 months at this point to file your FAFSA. So if you did, good for you. And if you haven't, what are you waiting for? Get that done tonight. So you can be considered for, it's very important to be considered for campus-based aid, especially, which are funds that are very limited. State deadline for continuing students to complete their FAFSA and answer any additional state questions is April 15th, 2019. So if you have yet to file your FAFSA or have yet to answer the additional state questions on the Higher Education Student Assistance Authority's website, you will want to do that as soon as possible. Even if deadlines seem far away, we recommend that you fill the form out as soon as possible to make sure that you give yourself plenty of time to get everything that needs to be done and followed up with thoroughly. Myth number 10, if I didn't receive enough money for school, I'm just out of luck. Not necessarily. You still have options. If you've received federal, state, and college aid, but still find yourself having to fill the gap between what your financial aid covers and what you owe the school, there is alternative loans, such as the Federal Parent Plus loan. That is a loan from the Department of Education, same place where students receive their loans. It does require a separate application for parents to apply, and it will run a credit check so that if there's an approval, great. But if there's a denial, then at least the student would then be eligible for an additional $4,000 to $5,000 in an unsubsidized Stafford loan in their name. So it's always a good idea to look into the Parent Plus loan in case you feel that, or your parents feel that they aren't going to qualify for any other type of private loan. And alternative private loans, that you get from a third-party bank, those are recommended as a last resort only because of the interest rates and the repayment rates are vastly different and are tied into your credit worthiness, credit history, credit score. And there's also the tuition payment plan that Stockton offers through the bursar's office, where after your financial aid is paid against your account, whatever the remaining differences can be split up into monthly payments. So starting in the summertime, it'll be a 5-month payment plan for the fall semester, and I think it's a 4-month payment plan for the spring semester. And at that point, if there are any questions, again, my name is Angelica Velez of the Stockton Financial Aid Office. You can find me in our office at the Campus Center, room 201. If you have any questions, feel free to stop by and visit us.